It has been continuously stated that a key objective is to keep schools open. This decision undermines that objective completely.
There are 423 new cases of COVID-19 in the Republic and 5 additional deaths. There are 232 COVID patients now in hospital, the lowest since before Christmas, and 56 are in intensive care. And finally, the killers of Limerick man Jason Corbett could be released on bail when a bond hearing gets underway in the United States later tonight. In 2017, Molly Martins and her father Tom were found guilty of the 39-year-old second-degree murder. North Carolina's Supreme Court overturned their conviction last month, and a plea deal of voluntary manslaughter was later offered by prosecutors. That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Mostly dry tonight, apart from some light rain and drizzle in the north and west. Lowest temperatures of 0 to 5 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball
with Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're welcome along. Wednesday evenings Off the Ball will give rugby the full treatment this evening. La Rochelle involved in Heineken Champions Cup action this Saturday against Sale. Ronan O'Gara will be with us. Niamh Briggs as well. Ireland in Six Nations action on Saturday as well. Elsewhere, second only to Christmas Eve, it is Masters Eve. We have called in Dermot Gillespie of the Sunday Independent. He's on the way this hour. Then the football show, PSG Bayern this evening. Repeat of the 2020 Champions League final. Say no more, we are all over that. And then Liverpool fans this season offering slim pickings. We have Gareth Roberts of the Anfield Rap after a very bad night in Madrid. Dan McDonnell along for the football show as well. It would seem Ireland and Dublin hosting Euro 2020 matches increasingly under threat. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, hello.
Hey, Joe.
And Ronan Mullen, hello to you.
How are you, Joe?
Very well. So which game caught your eye last night, Ronan? I presume it was Madrid in the main?
Yeah, I think it started off, I was presuming, like as much as he'd like Dortmund to put it up to Man City, that being somewhat weakened, that they might struggle, and that Liverpool-Madrid was the marquee match. And so it seemed for about the first hour anyway, where Man City seemed to have things relatively under control against Dortmund. That turned on its head in the last 15 minutes. And that Jude Bellingham decision, Joe, is honestly one of the worst refereeing decisions I've ever seen. I only saw it after the fact, so I was obviously watching Liverpool-Madrid in the first half and then got sent this clip, and you're just thinking it's probably visible on first viewing from the limited camera angle that we have, let alone the referee who's in prime position to see what happened there, where Ederson basically boots Jude Bellingham, who nicks the ball away in textbook fashion. And like what a breakout moment that would have been for him.
And is the reason there that the VAR can't intervene because the referee blows his whistle before the ball is put in the net? Therefore, that is irrelevant. The referee has blown the whistle. Anything that happens after that's irrelevant. All
the referee had to do was say, "Not sure about that, but I'll let the goal stand, and then we can have a good look at it."
Yeah.
And he did the total opposite. Similarly, the penalty that was awarded to Man City for a nothing challenge, again, on first viewing, you weren't quite sure. It didn't look like a penalty incident whatsoever, and the replays ultimately determined that. So it was just a very strange affair altogether.
Yeah.
The Madrid-Liverpool game, like, I can't have been alone looking at the team sheets before the game, seeing the bundles of energy in that Liverpool midfield against the get the band back together one more time, Modric, Kroos and Casemiro. And like, I was proven severely wrong on that because they just absolutely ran the show, and like, it probably gets lost in their slew of Champions League victories in recent years, but I think it was the Champions League final in Cardiff where Real Madrid beat Juventus, and the first half an hour of that game, it was that midfield three in 2016-17. Yeah. And again, like, it was like Hagler-Hearns type stuff. Juventus were throwing everything they had at them, and Real Madrid, that midfield three will go down in history as like just the ultimate control. And Toni Kroos, having said that, Toni Kroos was given the freedom of the pitch, and even at my infinitesimal level of football, Joe, if I'm given all that time to pick a pass, I could probably clip one over the top like Kroos did last night. He was practically pointing at Vinicius where to go for the through ball, and it was a bit of a breakout night for him as well. Vinicius, who has blown hot and cold, but really delivered last night, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't need to continue the pile-on, but a night he'll want to forget, I'd say.
In some ways, the third goal was the most depressing from a Liverpool perspective. Look, the first goal, it was a wonderful pass, but no pressure on the ball, as you say. So that's really bad as well. Well, none of the goals were good. We're doing in gradients of awfulness here, I should state. So all the goals were bad. But the third goal, there was just, as you said, like Madrid are at the end of a cycle here. This is like the dying embers of this great team, and you've got the Benzema, Modric, Kroos types who are, still kind of getting out of bed and cracking their neck a few times and saying, "Oh, it's that time of the season, knockout stages. We'll try and put a little something out there," because they've had a very indifferent season. And yet you look at the third goal where it's. So Alexander-Arnold, in fairness to him, from a breakaway corner, gets back and averts a near certain goal in a 2v1 and does brilliantly. So then, like, Liverpool have a chance to get set. This is a team that have a throwing coach. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of au fait with these moments. This isn't being caught with a sucker punch. This is a throw-in in your half, and you have time to get set. Because everybody was trundling up the pitch at that stage too. This wasn't a quick throw-in. And so you're set. Like, as a team, you're supposed to be set. And it's like a throw to Benzema, who kind of under no pressure, little touch and a little turn, and I'll give it back to Modric here. Under no pressure, I'll shimmy in here into the penalty area. Under no pressure, I'll pass the ball to Vinicius, who under no pressure curls around the corner, and Alisson should save it. And you're thinking, like, goals are meant to hurt. You think of per Bruno with that delayed pass against Brighton, and he's going to take some pain for it. He's almost going to have his ankle broken. There's going to be lunges and little nudges off balance and stretching every sinew moments. Whereas that goal for Madrid, that was training ground stuff. And I don't know, for Liverpool, Richie, you can see the goal like that when they're all about pressure and trying to do the right things. That's where you realised any hope post the Arsenal win, and a sense of stability in their back four increasingly, and Fabinho back in midfield maybe, and all that stuff. All of that hope actually it was built on fairly shaky foundations.
Yeah, I'm sure there were reasons for it as well, but I'd say anybody was struggling to see the logic in Naby Keita starting ahead of Thiago last night, when the axis of Thiago and Fabinho in midfield had worked brilliantly and had been, I guess, the spur behind those three recent results.
Klopp
where things look rosy in the garden
Keita
again.
was knocking it out of the park in training. He said, I couldn't ignore him any longer. And also he mentioned his dribbling ability he felt would be important in this game to unlock Madrid. But it was a hell of a time. It was a hell of a time to pick that moment.
To do that in the league when it's not a semi-inconsequential game, because they're all obviously full of consequences given the Champions League football chase. But don't do it in the first leg of a quarter final of the Champions League away to Real Madrid. That's just lunacy. Go with what's been working. He had spoken in the lead into last night's game about momentum, and not only the importance of beating Madrid, but also the importance of continuing momentum as they try and secure Champions League football, be that through a top four finish or be that through winning this competition. And just decided to cast that to one side and pick somebody who's featured fitfully over the course of the last 3 years in midfield. Like lunacy. And as regards Alexander-Arnold, I mean, I know Ronan says he doesn't want to join the pylon, but there is something odd there that when things go well for him, they go very, very well. And he's had a couple of brilliant games in the last couple of weeks since Gareth Southgate admitted him from the England squad. But when things do go badly, they go haywire. There's no in-between times. There's no 6 or 7 out of 10 performance from Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah. He's either one of the best attacking fullbacks in the world or an absolute liability who should probably be pulled off at half-time. It's baffling to see how they kind of join the two of those extremes together.
Yeah. Even last night in spurts, like, he produced a half volley pass
for Jota
that I'd say about 7 or 8 people in the world could probably do.
So good.
With the same technique, and just incredible. And like, Monday Night Football was captivating for certain reasons, but particularly that debate that they were having. It was a bit of a faux debate in the sense that Dave Jones asked Gary Neville to play devil's advocate for Gareth Southgate on why he might leave Trent out of the England team. This is obviously before all of last night happened, and Neville was obviously pointing to his deficiencies in defence. But there was an interesting clip that was doing the rounds today of, I think it must be NBC's coverage of the Champions League in America, but it's cast from Britain with Alex Scott and Jamie Carragher doing the analysis. And they basically broke down that it's all well and good saying Trent is a bombarding wing-back who does his work in the final third, but when he's actually back in a defensive position, his defence in those situations is poor. Like, he doesn't seem interested, and the Carragher was very vigorously showing him what he should be doing, like getting down low, getting ready to turn. And then I saw Ashley Cole actually quote-tweeted that clip. This is getting very meta now, but Ashley Cole quote-tweeted that clip with his own take on like what a fullback should be doing in that situation. And Ashley Cole, by all accounts, I think we can agree, is one of the best all-around fullbacks of the last 2 decades, where he delivered on both ends. So I think if anyone's at liberty to talk about this, it's definitely him. But like, as I think Damien mentioned last night, Trent Alexander-Arnold, objectively, one of the 4 or 5 most talented players in England. And for that reason, regardless of form, I think you kind of have to take him to the Euros. That's a conversation I suppose we'll be having closer to the summer, but it's definitely to the fore now, given what happened last night.
We should kick into the news round. We're slightly shorter than usual this evening, fellas, because we have recorded a chat with Dermot Calise about the Masters, so that is on the way. The news round on Off the Ball and News Talk is with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette made of what matters. And Richie, not much we can say about this story, but it's fairly eye-catching.
Yeah, Irish sprinter Leon Reid among 5 men charged with drugs, weapons and money laundering offences in the UK. The 26-year-old has been released on court bail and will appear before Bristol Crown Court again on May the 12th. Reid has been charged with conspiracy to supply cocaine, allowing premises to produce the drug and concealing and acquiring criminal property. Having medalled for Great Britain at youth level, Reid switched allegiance to Ireland in 2018 and last month he competed for Ireland at the European Indoor Athletics Championships in Poland and obviously was hoping to go to the Olympics in Tokyo.
So next story is Dublin as a host city, and there was a UEFA deadline. They wanted guarantees on spectators, and needless to say, given our situation here, FAI can't give those guarantees.
Yeah, Dublin on the brink of relinquishing its status as a host city for Euro 2020. The FAI has informed UEFA today that it can't guarantee spectator numbers for the Aviva Stadium. It's believed UEFA, our European football's governing body, wanted assurances that stadiums can operate at 25% capacity or indeed better, obviously. The Aviva is due to host 4 matches, starting with the Group E meeting of Poland and Slovakia on June 14th. A final decision on all host cities is due later this month. The Scottish FA has confirmed they'll allow Hampden Park to be a quarter full, hosting around 12,000 people for their matches. Wembley will have at least 10,000 fans in attendance for group games, with a minimum of 40,000 supporters for the semis and the finals. Interestingly, Italy this evening, Joe, saying that they've committed to having 12,000 fans in the Olympico for their matches, but offered the caveat that they also can't give any guarantees as to attendances for the Euros, which is possibly something we should have done.
Yeah, okay. So football this evening, we have Chelsea obviously in action, and then we have a repeat of last year's final.
Yeah, we do indeed. Chelsea in the neutral venue of Seville for tonight's Champions League quarter-final first leg with Porto kick-off there at 8 o'clock. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, the reigning champions Bayern Munich playing host to last year's beaten finalists Paris Saint-Germain. Kick-off in both games upcoming at 8 p.m. The IRFU today announced that 10% of its non-playing staff are to lose their jobs in a redundancy programme as rugby deals with the pandemic. Up to 20 members of staff in administrative and performance roles are to be laid off in both voluntary and compulsory redundancies. The IRFU annual report for 2020, released in October, revealed that they'd run a deficit of €35 million. They've said today that they hope that crowds coming back for the 2022 Six Nations can prevent further redundancies.
Miserable news. People losing their jobs. It's just terrible to see as a result of all this. And 20 staff seems like a lot. I'm not sure how many staff are at the RFU, but it's not like it's a gargantuan organisation. So 20 members of staff gone will absolutely be felt at an institutional level as well. Hi lads, I watched Keith Andrews on Virgin last night. He was asked about the Ireland setup and Niall Quinn quizzed him on selection, etc. I thought Andrews was excellent, very honest, knowledgeable. He didn't get sarcastic or defensive like previous managers often did. Bodes well for the future. Yeah, I watched that as well. It's on YouTube if anyone wants to catch it. It's about 13 minutes long. I thought it was a really good exchange from both of them. Like, I thought Quinn made some really good points, and Quinn didn't back down. He was like, I really thought you needed experience against Luxembourg. I think we saw that against Qatar, and I just think, you kind of made a mistake on that, to be honest. And Andrews explained the thought process, and like the texter says, didn't get overly defensive. Did any of you guys see it?
Saw bits of before the match there last night, where he'd explained briefly that it's kind of a short-term pain for a long-term game, and that they have the players to back up their, style of play that they want to impose in the Ireland team. And I think the honesty is something to be applauded and awarded, because, as the texter mentioned, we've seen managers and assistant managers get very snippy when having this kind of stuff put in their laps. And Andrews is very forthright. Stephen Kenny has been so far as well, in saying that, listen, this is the way forward. Come with us or stay behind.
I just like that Quinn held his ground. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be easy running for with Keith there, Quinn not to do that, but he was like, yeah, he turned to him, he said, no, I didn't like what I saw against Luxembourg. I thought the selection was much better against Qatar.
Yeah, I think it's, if anything, and like obviously it's open to criticism at the moment given the way things have gone, but I think it's comforting to know that they're not wavering in their principles. Like, it would be a lot more concerning if they were cowed by the criticism and by the results and thinking, right, we have to revert to the football we have been playing for the last few decades and try and grind out results. That might work in the short term in terms of job security, but in long-term football, they're not going to die wondering. They're going to actually try and implement this new style of football. Whether it's ill-judged, time will tell. But Keith Andrews and Stephen Kenny, I do think, come across well in how they try to get that message across. Obviously, the Duff and Alan Kelly departures are less than ideal, because on paper that's a very impressive looking coaching team, but have to give, like, as much as there have been upheaval on the pitch in terms of player personnel and all the COVID withdrawals, like the coaching staff, 50% of the main staff have left since they were appointed, so it's not ideal either.
I know.
So hopefully, like, take a breath, and these quote unquote winnable friendlies coming up during the summertime, followed by a couple of must win, well, obviously the Portugal one, not must win, but must perform well once the competitive games come back around.
Rich, last couple of stories.
Liverpool say the abuse of footballers and social media is utterly unacceptable and has to stop. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Naby Keita sent racist messages following last night's 3-1 defeat to Real Madrid in their first leg of the Champions League quarter-finals. The Premier League club insists their players will get all the support they require. Kevin De Bruyne is going to see out a decade at Manchester City. The Belgium international's new deal will expire in the summer of 2025. While police investigating Tiger Woods' serious road crash said he was found driving at nearly twice the legal speed limit, Woods required emergency surgery, having sustained serious leg injuries in the February accident in California. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said this evening that Woods was driving at between 84 and 87 miles per hour before he left the road, and that was in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. Villanueva says Woods' speed was unsafe for road conditions, but no evidence was found of impairment.
Okay. They didn't, I know there's breaking news, I hadn't realised they'd come out. They didn't explain why there were no skid marks, did they?
Not that I've seen, no.
That was always kind of the odd thing. Anyway, that's their... I was going to say that's their story and they're sticking to it, which sounds far too much like I'm suggesting conspiracy, but that's their findings. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine the reason why there was no skid marks is because he was going at 84 to 87 when he left the road, and the sheriff said this evening that he hit the tree at 75. So whether there was much of an attempt to brake, I'm not too sure. Yeah,
but then when you go across the other lane and off the road, I mean, at some stage you're hitting the brakes. I'd look at it. I don't know.
Sounds like there's a podcast in this for you, Joe.
No, I ain't saying
45-parter.
Anything. I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm sure they've looked into it and that's all good. Fellas, we are out of time. Thanks so much. Ronan, thank you.
Cheers, Joe.
Richie, is Tom Dunn back tonight?
He is back tonight.
Oh, thank
wishing
God.
you a happy Christmas,
thank
Joe,
God.
and
thank
enjoy
God.
your Masters. Oh, by the way, quickly before we go, Masters video game on the way in 2022.
Saw that.
I bet you're delighted. Yeah.
I saw that. That was supposed to be big news. That what was your story at the bottom? The Great Unwashed can now play Augusta, but only in video game
pretty
form.
much, yeah.
How is this a story that they're releasing a video game with Augusta National in it?
Because it happens so rare. It's not as if you're playing Old Trafford. I know you've got stuff to get there. It's not as if you're like FIFA signing over venues. This has happened so rarely. It only happened for the first time in 2011.
Okay.
And then fitfully since then. So this is the first time in 6 years. It's going to be 7 years by the time the game rolls around.
Okay.
And that people will be able to be inside the gates.
Are golf computer games any good?
It's been a while since the last one, and I haven't played one in about 20 years, to be honest.
The answer is yes, they are.
Bring back Fight Night.
Thanks,
greatest,
JP.
Fight Night's the greatest sports video game of all time. I think I have that on good authority.
Fight Night. Sorry, we're gone. We're done. We're out of time. We have Dermot Gillespie next. Thanks, fellas.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
Whoa. Shoes off when you're inside, please.
At Audi, book a major service or timing belt kit on audiservice.ie and you'll receive a complimentary set of Audi genuine floor mats worth €125. You'll be forgiven for being a little overprotective. Book now on audiservice.ie.